beautiful girl I'd ever seen before. Sea green eyes and long blonde hair, cool smooth smile and didn't have care. I don't know why, but she walked my way. I was scared to death, but I was ready to play. Love at first sight sets the spirit free. I felt the dark clouds part, I heard the angels sing. My heart caught fire and my soul can fly. That's when I knew I had to make her mine.
Hello, everybody. Hey, let me make sure that everything is working here. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the big show. My name is Mickey, and this is Mickey in the Middle, the quintessential show for Middle Americans, where all Middle Americans are welcome. We're not talking about the rich people. We're not talking about the poor folks that are living homeless on the street. We're not talking about the crazy people that are 20% on the right or the crazy people that are 20% on the left. We are talking about Middle Americans who all want the same thing, which is to live in a great country where we can all be free and live our best lives. There are almost 350 million of us. We're going to get to that in just a second. But the vast majority of us need to be able to live in peace and harmony with our neighbors and just get along. Now, today's show is going to be about Donald Trump, the good, the bad, and the ugly about Donald Trump, and about why Donald Trump does what he do. Before we get there, I'd like to mention this awesome birthday hat that my daughter, Sydney Allison, got for me. You can tell it's got ducks on it because I'm raising 6 baby ducks that are going to go on the pond behind my house, so we can set them free and let them live their best life. But right now, I'm a duck dad, and they are getting big fast. So thank you very much for the birthday hat, Sydney. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. I absolutely love the hat. I'm also wearing a red shirt because this is Cabot Fest week. And every day I do the Great Cabot Fest treasure hunt where I come up with a clue and then we hide a coin and then people go out and search for the clue or search for the coin after they receive the we hide a coin. And then on Facebook Live at the Cabot Area Chamber of Commerce, we give a clue every morning at 8:30. Then people go search for the coin, and when they find it, they win $100. And then when they're entered into a drawing for $1,000 on the main stage at 9:30 on Saturday. Cabot Fest is this weekend. I will be on the main stage at Cabot Fest starting at 9 a.m. when the mayor starts talking. I'll introduce him. And then we're going to do the national anthem, presentation of the colors, and then the national anthem. And then at 9:30, we're going to have a drawing for $1,000 for all of the winners of the daily coin. So that's going to be awesome. So come out and see me at Cabot Fest. We're going to have a great time. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to the big show. This right here is the founding document of the United States of America that basically says, we the people of the United States. That's us. That's why we like this document right here. This right here is the amendments to the Constitution. This is what makes us free. And who can beat being free, right? So that says that you can speak your mind. That means you can assemble. You can have guns. That nobody can take your stuff away from you without due process or anything like that. That's a dead link right there. World population, 8,251,188,180. Close enough. All right, and then the United States of America, collectively, the people owe 37,841,350,000. Is that absolutely insane or what? That is what collectively we owe. The reason that I show you those every single week is so that you know how many people that you share the planet with, how many people you share the country with. Let's go back to the world population clock, right? So let's do this real quick. In the United States of America, there are 347 million. Notice that number is not getting very big very fast. It's not. So our numbers are going up slowly. Hold on. I don't know how. Hey, there's another baby that was just born in the United States of America. Isn't that most adorable? All right. So uh, let's talk about the show. Here's what the thing is about the show. Donald Trump is the president of the United States for the second time. Now, he was elected, and then Joe Biden won, and then Donald Trump is back. Uh, the reason I'm doing this show is because I went to lunch with a very, very good friend of mine. We used to ride across the country together on motorcycles. We've been all the way from San Diego, California, all the way up to Maine. We've ridden all across this country, and we absolutely love it. We've had a great time, and it was just a fantastic time. I just want everybody to know that I trust this guy, and we went to lunch because he was furloughed, and he called me up and he's like, "Hey, I'm furloughed. They called me back from the trip that I was on, and now I would like to do lunch with you and figure out what you got to say about this." So while we were sitting at lunch, we caught up, talked about motorcycles, talked about our kids, and then we started discussing Donald Trump and the situation with the shutdown as it is right now. After a few minutes, he looked at me and said, uh, I think that this is an important time in our government because there is a whole bunch of stuff that's going on that I don't think that everybody understands. And then I started thinking, I said, you know what? I need to do my entire show on Wednesday about this because Donald Trump is a controversial figure. So after my conversation with that individual, and after a bunch of comments on one of my Facebook posts that said that it was somebody did a psychological evaluation of me. It was awesome. I decided to do this because I have a feeling that people do not know how the system works. And because people don't understand how the system works, they don't understand what Donald Trump is doing. So I've got 2 pages of notes that I made based off of the conversation that I had with my friend Rob. And I don't know whether I was supposed to say his name or not, but if you're looking, thank you very much. Anyway, so I've got 2 pages of notes, and we're going to get to those in just a second. But first, I want to show you this. This right here is actually the White House page. This is from the White House. This is Donald J. Trump, and this is a picture of the President of the United States. Now, you notice that he might look a little mad in this. He might look a little bit mad in this. You want to know why? I think that's his mugshot. Right? So I think that he wanted to put the face of the person that feels like he was persecuted on the White House page because he believes that is an important moment in our country that Donald Trump believes that the Democratic Party and operatives of what they call the deep state went after Donald Trump with the FBI, with Democratic attorney generals in multiple states, and they brought as many charges against him as they possibly could. And they showed no quarter. They impeached him twice, and so he was convicted in the House of Representatives, and then the Senate found him not guilty 2 times. Why is that important? Because it shows a consistent pattern of people trying to go after Donald Trump, and he says that it didn't happen all the time. Now, everybody knows that Donald Trump had Trump University and that it went bankrupt. Yes, Donald Trump has had failed businesses. I'm not going to make any excuses for Donald Trump and Donald Trump's behavior. I'm not going to talk about what people think of Donald Trump. I'm just going to try to remain as neutral as possible. However, I got to tell you a couple of facts. The first thing is that Donald Trump is old and Donald Trump has seen a lot of things. Now, Donald Trump has also seen the inside of a courtroom a lot. Now, because he's seen the inside of a courtroom a lot in his private capacity and in his political capacity, that gives him a great perspective on what is going on in the world and how the world operates. So the world operates in the judicial system on 2 sides. The criminal charges, that's why that when he was convicted of 32 felonies, they can call him a convict. And on the civil side, where when he was accused of rape and sexual assault, he got off of that on the criminal side, but he was sued civilly and he ended up losing that case. But I don't know where that is right now. So Donald Trump knows both sides of the judiciary. Why is that important? Because I think that Donald Trump took all of the experiences that he's had for his entire life and for his first presidency, and now on his second presidency, he decided to leverage everything that he has learned about these systems in order to be as effective as he wants to be in order to accomplish his agenda. So let's go and start off with some of my notes. I'm going to be blunt. Most people do not know how the world of politics, the government, and our interactions with it work. Who is supposed to do what? Who has the authority? Who doesn't? Why some stuff happens? Why other stuff doesn't happen? Why the government gets shut down? And when will it open again? Now, this is a classic example of people can blame Donald Trump for the shutdown. People can blame the Democrats. People can blame the Republicans. Well, what you need to understand is not everybody that's in Congress has to agree with what one side wants to do. Each house in the government, right, the Senate side and the House of Representatives has leadership, but it doesn't mean that you have to have that go the same way. Not everybody's going to vote for the same thing. That's why the government shut down, right? So what the Republicans claim is that the Biden era budget is just going to be approved for the following month, so that it just has to be extended for 1 month, and they have the figures on that. They claim that the Democrats are not going to give them enough votes in the Senate. Talked about that last week. So that the government cannot pass a resolution in order to fund the government for the next 30 days until we get in the next year. They can blame each other, but that's the way the system works. And that's what the show is about today, is how does the system work? Few people know about the 4 levels of government, right? So you got the local, you got the county, you got the state, and you got the federal government. If the federal government gets in charge or is in charge, they're in charge of all 50 states and all of the territories. So they have authority to operate in all of those things. Now, they cannot act outside of what they do by the federal government. You want to know why? Because the 10th Amendment says that they cannot take over the states. The 10th Amendment says that the federal government can only do what is allocated to the federal government by the states, and the states will retain the rest of it. So you have to ask yourself, is Donald Trump taking over the states? Is Donald Trump taking over local police departments? Is Donald Trump actually being the bully and going in and doing it? Or does he have the legal right to do things? The federal government acts as the overseer for everything. And they had very, very limited duties when the Constitution of the United States first came out. But they've expanded those federal authorities through Congress's ineptness, because Congress invented the Energy Department. Congress invented the Education Department. Congress invented the ATA or ATF. And Congress invented all these different things like ICE and the Border Patrol. But the Congress, right here in the Constitution of the United States, says that the federal government has everything that has to do with immigration. The states have nothing to do with immigration. The states have nothing to do with immigration. And that's what Donald Trump has decided to do. Donald Trump said, hey, how can I get this done? Before I get there, we're going to talk about what Donald Trump does and what Donald Trump doesn't do. The story begins with President Barack Obama. See, President Barack Obama was very, 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 very smart. He also had an agenda. And when he got in, when he became president, he was not a Washington insider, because Barack Obama wasn't a Washington insider. He didn't know about all the limitations that he could hit. But what he did say is one day he decided that he wanted to get something done. Congress wasn't doing anything about it. So Barack Obama said, quote, I've got a pen and I've got a phone, and I can use that pen to sign executive orders and take executive action and administrative actions that move the ball forward. Want to know why? Because he didn't know that he wasn't supposed to. But then he was legally allowed to, because executive orders are from the executive branch on how the executive operates all of the stuff that's in the executive. That means he now has federal authority because the federal authority goes across 50 states. Isn't that magic? That is absolutely magic, the way that they do that. So Barack Obama decided to use the federal government and his ability as a president to influence things that happened across the nation because he was president and he had a pen. Now, along comes Donald Trump. And Donald Trump learned all those lessons well. Because when Donald Trump got in, he said, hey, if Congress isn't going to do anything, I'm going to use executive action. But then he was thwarted through 2 impeachments. So, man, they went after that guy hard. They did. So through 2 impeachments, he didn't get a lot done, but he watched the way the system operated. Now that he's in, let's talk about what Donald Trump has done and what Donald Trump has not done. Believe it or not, Donald Trump is always complying with the law. When New York charged him like $750 million, almost $1 billion, because he lost a fraud case in New York, he said, hold on, we're going to go ahead and appeal this because this is not right. But he had to retain the money, so he retained the money. He gave it to the state of New York. He complied with the law. Every time that a federal judge says, you're not allowed to do this, then Donald Trump says, okay, we're not allowed to do this. But he does have executive authority to do things. Let me give you a classic Donald Trump move. Let's talk about burning the flag. Donald Trump doesn't believe in burning the flag. He doesn't believe in burning the flag. I don't believe that somebody should be able to burn the flag. But the Supreme Court of the United States said that burning a flag is considered free speech, so you're allowed to do it. They also said that if you incite or break a law, then you are not allowed to burn a flag because that falls under different laws. So what did Donald Trump do? Donald Trump wrote an executive action. He used his pen to do executive action to say that burning a flag was illegal if you incite terrorism or if you break any other federal laws. Donald Trump actually quoted the Supreme Court of the United States of America and said, you cannot burn a flag in the country if you incite violence or if you break any other laws. So Donald Trump did something because Congress didn't do that. Congress didn't write a law that said burning a flag is illegal unless you incite violence or you break another law. Congress didn't do that. So Donald Trump did. So Donald Trump actually wrote what the Supreme Court said. And then now he gets credit for saying that, hey, I stopped illegal flag burning in the United States of America. Because that's what he does. He minces words. He flows between the lines. He figures out. So if Donald Trump has a law and he writes an executive order, now that's the words, executive order. So if Donald Trump has an executive order and a Supreme Court judge or another judge, a district court judge says, hey, you can't do that, Mr. President. He goes, okay, then we will do it this way. We'll do the same thing, but we'll use this as an excuse. And if that gets shot down, he goes, okay, well, we won't do that. Then we'll use this as an excuse. And that's how he's building the wall. That's how he's stopping illegal immigration. This is how he is being able to enforce different things across the country. They said, hey, you're not allowed to use active duty troops in states. He said, all right, I won't use active duty troops. What I'll do is I'll send guard members. Well, here's the thing. Guard members have been used for decades, right? So you remember George Wallace down there in Alabama, I think it was Alabama, when there were some black kids that were trying to go to college. And George Wallace, the governor of the state, said, hey, look here, we are not going to allow those children to go into this school because they are not the right color. And then the troops were sent in to make sure that those kids could go to school. Troops were sent to Little Rock to make sure that the Little Rock 9 could go to Central High School. Troops were sent to Katrina. Troops were sent to California for the fires. There's countless and countless and countless examples of active duty troops being sent to states in order to do things from the federal government. So now the question then becomes, can you write an executive order that complies with all the laws and use federal troops and use a guard in order to go do that? Well, he's not sending them to go to police things. Donald Trump is not sending troops to go police things. He is sending troops to take care of ICE agents that he says are in danger. So he goes, oh, no. I'm not sending troops over there to police. I'm sending them only there as a protection force for the Immigration and Customs Agency in order to make sure that they're safe. So that means that he didn't say we're going to send them to Chicago to be a police force, although he says it on TV all the time. What he's actually written down is that they're going to be able to help DEA, ICE, what's the other one? Customs and Border Patrol, and secure facilities. Isn't that? But that's how Donald Trump is doing what Donald Trump is doing. He is, oh, hey, Don Ledger says, nice hat. Hey, thanks, Don. I appreciate it. By the way, Don Ledger wins the Mickey in the Middle chat gold for the day. Thank you very much, Don. Carolyn says, hi. Tor says, he has a royal flush now. Yeah, he does have a royal flush. And then he plays his trump card with the executive order process and does it very wisely. Thank you very much, Tor. Greatly appreciate that. Good order and discipline for ICE. Look in the chat. Here's what the thing is. These are not solely my ideas. Donald Trump is using a trump card because what happened is when Congress says that we're going to shut down the federal government, then that means that the executive branch has to take care of the entire United States, and they have to do it with the money that they have allocated in the fashion they want to. That means that he has a trump card and he can get rid of a lot of programs because Congress isn't open and Congress is not doing their job. So when you stop funding the government still has to continue. So Donald Trump now has a trump card, as Tor pointed out, that he can now get rid of the agencies that he wants to get rid of. Now, I'm not saying that Donald Trump is smart. What I'm saying is Donald Trump is going to take advantage of every situation that he has the ability to take advantage of. Why? Because he has seen a lot and he understands how the system works. If you put in an application or an executive order to do one thing and it gets turned down, then you rewrite the same doggone thing using different language and see if it can get passed that way. So when Donald Trump says, I'm going to send troops to Memphis or troops to Little Rock or troops to Chicago or troops to California or troops to the border, you got to watch what the language is in there because the language is the most important thing that he does. And he's been around this for his entire life as a businessman, as a billionaire, whenever they're writing international treaties, whenever they're writing the local laws, whenever they're doing anything that they do, you got to understand what Donald Trump is doing. Donald Trump has an agenda, much like Barack Obama had an agenda. Barack Obama's great big thing was healthcare. And he said, hey, look here, we're going to have a national healthcare system come hell or high water. So what did he do? He pushed for it. He changed executive orders. He changed the way that Congress viewed it. He changed the way that the public saw this. And the next thing you know, we have Obamacare. Now it's going to change, right? But that was one of Barack Obama's big agenda items. And he said, I'm going to get it by hook or by crook because President Obama was very, very smart. Just listen to the way that he talked. Listen to the way that he acted. Listen to the way that he changed his stories and changed the way that he wanted to do things as he went along. It's absolutely amazing that so many people don't understand that there's two sides of the justice system with criminal and civil, and that people also don't understand that Congress the executive branch, which is the presidency of the United States, and the judicial system have that little triangle right there where they can stop one another using different mechanisms in our government. So if the Congress doesn't like what the president's doing, the Congress can go to the Supreme Court. If the Supreme Court doesn't like something, then they can overrule it, but then Congress can write another law that nullifies what the Supreme Court has said. The president is supposed to be executing the laws of Congress, but they can do it in any way that they see fit to do it until somebody takes them to court and says that you can't do that. So everybody complaining about the troops, everybody complaining about the budget, everybody complaining about the systems are set up so that we can address these in the right forum. In the streets of Portland, Oregon is not the place to address this. In a courtroom, that's a place to address it. Don't go out and start rioting and protesting and doing absolutely crazy stuff that's going to get you sent to jail just because you want to have your voices heard. Have your voices heard. Have that, but be peaceful. You can raise up signs. You can walk on streets. You can yell your chants. You can do whatever you want. But if you want to stop the action, come up with a good legal reason to stop the action. That's what Donald Trump does. Donald Trump is outthinking everybody, much like Barack Obama was outthinking everybody. People like the Bushes, people like, let's see, people like, you got to go back a long time before you get a real political insider into the White House. But the Bushes were definitely political insiders, right? Clinton was kind of a political insider, not really, because he ran the state of Arkansas. Reagan was a political outsider. If you start going back, there's a lot of political outsiders. But Donald Trump and Barack Obama learned lessons for every single one of those things. Tor said, he isn't the most charismatic speaker, but POTUS Trump does have the experience to make things happen that previous administrations couldn't and didn't accomplish. Right. Because here's what the thing is. If you tell Donald Trump no, he's going to be like a precocious 7-year-old. He's going to go, why not? Well, then let's figure out a way to do it. Let's be smarter than the system. We'll throw so much stuff at them that they are in so many courtrooms that we're just going to go until they stop us. Because the second thing is, if you do something and nobody stops you, that means that you did something. If nobody, that bears repeating. If you do something and nobody stops you, then you got away with it. And they've been throwing up roadblocks for Donald Trump for years and years and years and years. Right? That's the way that he built a $1 billion real estate empire in New York. Is he said, hey, look here. I'm just not going to take no for an answer. If a building commission or if an inspection or one of these things stops me, I'm going to figure out the best and fastest way around that, and I'm still going to get it done. I'm going to cut as many real estate deals as I need to cut in order to make this happen. He did the same thing in Atlantic City, and when he started buying golf courses, and then he ends up being president of the United States. And the crazy thing about him being president of the United States is he doesn't think like all of the politicians that have been up there for thousands of years. He doesn't think like Mitch McConnell. He doesn't think like Nancy Pelosi. He doesn't think like Hakeem Jeffries. He doesn't think like AOC. He doesn't think like any of the other people that are Lindsey Graham, for example. He's thinking on ways to win because Donald Trump thinks he's a winner. Now, he might be a bombastic, narcissistic, crazy person, but here's what the deal is. He's still president of the United States. He still has a pen. And that means that Donald Trump is going to try to do whatever he wants to do to push his agenda forward. So Donald Trump, in the big scheme of things, is taking a lifelong look at all the lessons that he has learned since he was a wee lad, wherever the hell he grew up. And he's taking those and he's applying it to this. I'm not necessarily a Donald Trump fan. I don't know Donald Trump. I am neutral politically. And the reason I'm neutral politically is because for 30 years in the United States Air Force, I had to be politically agnostic, and I basically was. When I came out and I started looking at the situation, I decided that being an independent was a great idea. So I was an independent. And then they said I couldn't vote in the primaries. So they had to made me pick a party. Now, in Arkansas, you have to pick a party before you can vote it used to be, you had to pick a party before you could vote in the primaries, but you could vote in either one of the primaries that you wanted to. Isn't that the craziest thing? So that's why I'm a registered Republican. I should change that to independent. But I don't base my ideas on the person that's making the idea. It doesn't matter whether it's the mayor, right? So I like our mayor, Mayor Ken Kincaid. I like him. I endorse him. It doesn't matter whether it's at the legislative level, and I know Senator Ricky Hill and I know Representative Brian Evans. I talked to both of them this week. So that's my representatives at the state level. I don't know anybody at the national level, but I believe that local is more important so that I can have my voice heard. But I will vehemently disagree with the idea of some things in my state, whether other politicians believe them or not. So I cannot attach myself to an individual. I'm not going to attach myself to Bill Clinton. I'm not going to attach myself to Donald Trump. I'm not going to attach myself to AOC. What I'm going to say is, what have they said and what do they do? And do I like that or not? That's it. That's the only way that I judge things. So Donald Trump does things that I don't like all the time. I think he's a bombastic, narcissistic, crazy person that's just on this side of this. He is not crazy, but he's has so much stuff. It's like cats in a bag that you shake up. There's a lot going on up in there. And the way that he talks and the way that he does things, I'm like, man, that's a little bit disrespectful. And no, I don't like that. So there's a lot of things that he says and he does that I don't like. However, the policies that he comes up with, I can understand and I can justify it. I can go, oh, I see what he did there. And that's the thing about Donald Trump. You have to look and you have to go, oh, I see what he did there. Tor says, action fan. Yes, you got to be a fan of action, especially when the majority of the things that the president of the United States is doing is good. Now, there's a lot of bad in there, but the majority of the things that he's doing, policy-wise, I don't care about the man. I don't care about his family. I just care about the policies that affect me. So with that being said, that's going to be the end of the show. How about my duck hat? Isn't that awesome? Thank you very much, Sydney Allison. I greatly love my birthday duck hat. It's been an absolute joy. I've worn it all day. I'll probably wear it all day tomorrow. I love this doggone thing. It's got the commando roll on it. It's got the little snaps. I love that. Cabot Fest is coming up this weekend. I'll be on the main stage. I should be here next week. So just want to let you know, remember, like, share, Mickey in the Middle, 9 p.m. Central. Mickey in the Middle of the week, 9 p.m. Central. You guys be good. Take care. I love you. Have a great night. I will see you next week. See ya.
It was love at first sight when she walked through that door. The most beautiful girl I'd ever seen before. Sea green eyes and long blonde hair, cool smooth smile and didn't have a care. I don't know why, but she walked my way. I was scared to death, but I was ready to play. Love at first sight sets the spirit free. I felt the dark clouds part, I heard the angels sing. My heart caught fire and my soul can fly. That's when I knew